One of the quotes or the phrases that I use against these dogs and these dog owners is that when it comes to the nature of dogs, the owner has to, for the most part, they have to train the nature, the worthless nature out of the dog so that dog can be acceptable for them, and I guess somewhat we could also say for society. Many dog nuts, they won't admit it. They won't be direct about it, but they know that the natural nature of dogs is unacceptable. They know it's repulsive. And the way that they know it is through their physical, measures against dogs. The way they may speak towards the dog, the way they abandon dogs. We've seen many testimonials on YouTube and on the internet of people getting rid of the dog because it's not listening, it's biting, it's repulsive, it's disgusting. So many dog nutters, dog lovers, they know that the natural nature of the dog is unacceptable and it's repulsive. If it wasn't, why would they spend thousands of dollars, waste time and resources training these dogs to behave a particular way? They don't want to just let the dog be. No, they train the dog, they condition the dog to behave in a more acceptable way for them. And not just with training, they also use drugs. They drug these dogs to behave in a particular way. These dog nuts wouldn't just take any stray dog and just hand it to someone and say, hey, this is an emotional support dog. This is a service dog. No, they have to train out their natural instincts, train out their natural behavior, drug it up, use physical reinforcement. They ought to brainwash the thing, then give it to people in a state that is acceptable. They're not going to give out any random, disgusting, repulsive dog to anyone. That doesn't make any sense. Dog lovers know this. That's why there are so many trainers and so many organizations around conditioning, breaking down, and fixing these dogs because their nature is repulsive. Their nature is not acceptable. They don't like it. The dog lovers themselves say this. It's not just me who's saying that the nature of dogs is unacceptable. Dog nutters, the dog lovers, dog owners, they've said it. Maybe not directly. Maybe they're not going to say it out loud, but they say it in different ways. They say it by abandoning a dog. They say it by the way they may abuse a dog, hurt a dog, talk to a dog. That's how they say it because the nature of dogs, every single one of them, is unacceptable. We will have even dog lovers themselves criticizing other dog owners' dogs for the way their dogs may behave. And we all know that they're not going to blame the dog. They blame the owner. We've said that so many times. But really what they really want to say, it is the dog. They know it's the dog. They know it's the dog. The dog is the one doing the action behavior because that's the nature of these dogs. And it's funny when the dog's nature has been, I guess, erased out of it for the most part. and the dog is, let's say, well behaved and not attacking and not being, a nuisance, what these dog owners and dog lovers do, they will congratulate the dog for behaving in such a good way. They don't congratulate the owner and say, good job training the nature out of this thing. They don't do that. They congratulate the dog for not attacking, for not being repulsive. But as soon as the dog, it behaves in its natural state, as soon as the dog behaves in its natural state, they don't look and blame the dog for behaving the way it does. They blame the owner. Sometimes they will even say that's what dogs do. But when dogs are being repulsive and unacceptable, they're going to blame the owner. We know that. But end of the day, dog lovers themselves, they know that dogs, the natural nature of dogs is unacceptable. As disgusting and filthy as these dogs lovers are, they themselves will not accept a dog that is way, way too disgusting. Even for dog lovers' standards, they themselves do have some kind of limits. If they don't, why would they be training these things? Why would they be abandoning them? Because they do have some kind of limits, but yet they're still disgusting. The reason why I brought this up, but first I was going to talk about dogs being territorial, which I think is a little iffy. I don't think dogs even know they have a territory. And I ask a question. When these dogs don't know where they are. Dogs don't know what their home is. They just don't know. They don't know. So when dogs are at these shelters for months, years, you would assume that they would think that the shelter is their home. So do you think that these dogs at these shelters are territorial at these shelters? Do you think they're always barking at the workers? Do you think they're always barking at the volunteers? Are they always barking at customers? Do you think they're barking at passerbyers? If dogs are territorial, do they behave in such territorial behavior at these shelters? Do you think that's the case? I really don't know. That's why I'm asking. Because they say dogs are territorial. And in most cases, some of us have been through this, where you're on public property. You're on the road. You're on the other side of the sidewalk. And there's a house. And sometimes you don't even see the dog. The dog somehow sees you or sees you first. And it's barking at you. It's barking at you. Like, what are you barking at me for? I don't even know where you are. I'm not even paying attention to you. I'm not even looking at you. I'm walking, minding my own business. And this thing is barking at me? I'm not even on its territory. I'm not in its home. I'm not looking at its dog food. I'm not on its chair. I'm not on its bed. I'm not in its room. I'm nowhere near that. And these things will still bark at you so aggressively. What for? I'm not on your territory. Does this even have to do does that barking have to do anything with being territorial, or is it just because dogs are just brain damaged mutants? I'm on the sidewalk, I'm on my driveway, and you're barking at me. I don't even see the dog, and it's barking at me? Territorial? No. My driveway isn't your territory. If dogs are so smart in territory, they should know what what their territory is and isn't. What their territory is and isn't. If these dogs think everything is their territory, then that's evident that these dogs are brain damaged mutants. They're brain damaged mutants. And again, I just wonder if many of these dogs that pretty much live at the shelters for years, do they consider that their shelter or their cell territory? Do they behave in such a way like dogs do in houses? Do they do that? But again, I don't know. That's why I'm asking. But and to bring up these dog nuts wanting to train the nature out of dogs. We have this where they're saying 6 tips of managing a territorial dog. But let's say dogs are territorial by nature. Let's say they are territorial by nature. So now you have to train that out of them. Does that make any sense? Why would you want to train the territorial behavior out of something if it's their natural, behavior? It's because the behavior of the dog is unacceptable. The behavior of the dog is dangerous. The behavior that the dog is showing is repulsive. They know that. That's why they have these sites with these tips and advice, because they know that the nature of these dogs are disgusting. And plus they can make a few bucks out of it. They can make a few bucks out of dogs being brain damaged mutants. They can make a few bucks out of dogs, being dogs. They don't want dogs to be dogs. They want dogs to be, acceptable for the most part. Six tips of managing a territorial dog. It's their nature. Like, would we say this to lions and managing a territorial lion? Managing a territorial elephant? Managing a territorial fly? Managing a territorial bee? We wouldn't say that. But only with dogs. And that's another thing. Cats. I've seen many cats without a leash. No owner in sight. There's one cat that just walks side to side in other people's driveway. I've seen it. It meowed at me once. It's been on my property. It runs away and no one's hurt. I've seen it across the street. I've stared at it. I've made noise at it. And no one's attacked. No, there's no problem. There's no problem whatsoever. Not an owner in sight. Not a leash in sight. So you're telling me that these cats can go to various people's properties and everything is all right. But dogs in their owner's home, they have a problem with me on my own driveway. Same with the birds. Birds come, they go. Cats come, they go. Squirrels, chipmunks, they come, they go. But dogs, when they're on your own property, public property, it doesn't matter. They gotta be barking at you aggressively. Why are you barking at me? No, they don't. They're the only ones that do this. Only creatures that do this. You can't even find sane people just yelling outside the window. You don't see that. We may find drunk, drugged up, mentally unstable people doing that. Just like dogs. So there might be a connection between dogs being mentally damaged. What is territorial aggression in dogs? Territorial aggression in dogs is a behavior where a dog becomes protective of their perceived territory. Their perceived territory. Dogs don't know where their territory is. Dogs are moving from house to house, shelters, maybe shelters to shelter. They don't know where their territory is. They don't know where they live. They don't know about the home. They don't know about the forever home. Even when you feed these things, you feed them and take care of them and show the love to them, they still attack their owners in their own home, which include their home, yard, or even their owner. So their owner is pretty much their territory. Dogs may display this type of aggression by barking, growling, or even biting when they feel threatened, that their territory is being threatened. Who's threatening dogs' territory? Answer that question. Who has ever threatened a dog's territory? We've seen a surge of condos and houses all over at least Ontario. So we've been threatening the coyotes, the bears, the birds, the raccoons, the squirrels. We've been threatening a lot of wildlife. But yet, barely hear any attacks by any wild animals. Nothing, basically nothing. Condos are going up so rapidly. Pretty sure there's some animals living in those areas. And or they walk through, but yet very little attacks, at least. Very little sightings of these coyotes and bears. I've seen maybe in times of living where I am now after 16, 17 years is maybe 3 coyote sightings. I've seen it just run away. It's running on the street, whatever, and I don't see it anymore. I don't hear about anyone being attacked, nothing. But you want to say dogs are territorial? Their home is being threatened? Their territory is being threatened? Threatened of what? They get treated like they're gods. I feel like your territory is being threatened. Threatened by what? A child? A toddler? A baby? Someone that's across the street on their own property? Even when dogs are on a leash. I always see them still trying to smell people or lunge at people. But again, with cats, you don't see that. No leash, they don't do that. Only with dogs. Obedience training is a must to curb territorial aggression. Again, it's another way of saying train out the natural behavior of these worthless mutts. No, you don't see obedience for any other natural animal out there, not cats, not hamsters. There's no word called obedience for them out there. None. You may get it a little bit with cats, very tiny speck of it, but the word obedience is widely used when training these worthless mutts. Here it comes. Reward your dog's calm behaviors. Because them being excited and, overstimulated is unacceptable. So give them food when they are showing a behavior that is acceptable. Exercise your dog's body. And what do you mean exercise? What's exercise? Going for walks. throwing a ball so it can just catch it back and bring it back. That's the exercise they're talking about. Yeah, that's really gonna, clear out the nature of these worthless mutts. Now they say stimulate your dog's brain. So first they say reward calm behaviors. Now they want you to stimulate your dog's brain. The dog's damaged brain. They say obedience training is important. Most must be part of helping a territorial dog, but keeping this in mind, busy in other ways, is also important. So basically, you gotta, let your dog be busy. Busy doing what? What can a dog do other than eat? Go for walks, exercise, shit. What else can it do? It can't do hobbies. So now you're stuck doing these things for your worthless mutt when you have other things to do. Make it difficult for territorial aggression to occur. Make it difficult. And lastly, praise behavior you want to see again. Again, that kind of goes with number 2, rewarding the worthless mutt. And this goes down to show that this dog culture, the dog, is about training the worthless nature out of these dogs because it is highly unacceptable. If their behavior was acceptable and you can turn your back and just sit on beach chairs, then we wouldn't have articles like this. We wouldn't have dog trainers. Wouldn't have dog nutters being abusive to their worthless mutt. Dog nutters abandoning their worthless mutt. We wouldn't have shelters being packed with dogs. Would not have that whatsoever if the nature of dogs were more acceptable. And it isn't. It isn't. The natural behavior of these dogs, it's not acceptable even for dog lovers themselves. They themselves, as disgusting and filthy and as rude as they are, they themselves do not want a dog that is repulsive. They don't want a dog that is overly filthy. They don't want a dog that's overly territorial. They don't want a dog that's just annoying. They don't want a dog that's dangerous. They themselves don't want that. That's why they have to train and condition and brainwash and award and all this stuff for the dog just so it cannot behave like a dog. What they want is not a best friend. They want a slave. I am Gore the Dog Butcher with another Worthless Mutts. And please remember that it's okay to hate dogs.